With all the big calls on all the big races, welcome along to What a Shout, brought to you by the Racing Post and Betfred. We've got plenty to get stuck into over the next half an hour or so, because it's Newcastle's big day of the year. That is Plate Day, a really valuable handicap. Competitive, we'll be getting stuck into that with the guests. Also a good card from Newmarket, so they've also had racing today and yesterday. And of course we've got the Group 1 action, the Irish Derby at the Curragh that takes place on Sunday. Looks likely that no doubt it'll be bagged once again by the master of Ballydoyle, Aidan O'Brien. Don't forget, this is a like, subscribe, share and comment show, so we want you to be involved. Please get involved. We'll react and, as I say, get involved as much as possible with what we've got to say and what you've got to say. We've got a great team in place. We've got Hugo Palmer that'll be joining us a little bit later on the show. He's got big chances at Newcastle. We've got Paul Kealy, welcome along. You are part of the furniture here at the Racing Post. And it was a week ago, smack bang in the middle of Royal Ascot, and winners were looking quite tricky. Did it get any better?
Winners were looking tricky. No, it got worse.
Oh,
it got
no.
worse. Yeah, no, it was an absolutely shocking week for me. Looking back at it, I just think I didn't get the rub of the green. I backed quite a few seconds. I backed a fourth and a fifth in the same race that I think should have finished first and second. I had a fairly sizable bet for me in the second last race on Saturday that I think I should have won, and he finished second. It was just one of those where near miss after near miss after near miss. Did have a couple of quid on Pile Driver.
Well done.
One of my favourite horses. Must be everyone's favourite horse, and he's such a character, isn't he? But he's very, he's now won 3 big races at Ascot, isn't he? 2 at the Royal Meeting and a King George, and he goes there as a Group 1.5 horse, according to my next door neighbour, Graeme Rodway. But I think he's a little bit better than that. And it was a great week. Just didn't happen for me.
And huge price winners. I mean, it was unbelievable.
150s,
80 to 1, 60, 150.
Cardham. How did Cardham win that? Oh, crikey. I backed him for Group 1 races a couple of years ago when he was 4. He's so much form in the book to say he couldn't win it. There you go. One of those days.
Anyway, your head is back in the right place and onwards and upwards.
I don't know whether it's in the right place, but it's in place.
It's not completely frazzled by Ascot. Graeme Rodway, how was Ascot for you? Any better?
It was a good week, thanks, Em. Yeah, I had one good winner all week, but I didn't have too many bets. So if you don't have too many bets and you have one good price winner, it kind of pays for the week. Couple of places on Saturday. Like Kilsey said, I was a little bit disappointed to see Pile Driver come through and win, because I'd backed West Wind Blows.
Oh.
Of course, was also finished second to him. And I'm still convinced that he's a Group 1.5 horse, but he's a good Group 1.5 horse. Maybe he's a Group 1.25 horse now. Maybe he just comes in a little bit higher. I don't know. Maybe he will go on and win a second King George. Don't get me wrong, I love the horse, I love the connection. It's a great story, love it. But I've never really warmed to him. But I'm going to have to start warming to him if he keeps winning, aren't I?
But the way our season goes, there's no time to dwell. It's very much move on. Massive weekend again this weekend. Have you been to the Plate Day? Newcastle's big day of the year.
I would love to have gone. I mean, they absolutely love it up there, don't they? The Pitman's Derby, the locals, absolutely love the day. And I would love to go up there one day. It's a different race now, of course. It used to be on the turf, now on the all-weather, so totally different race. Requires a different type of horse, I think. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's as competitive as ever. And we've got the consolation race, the Vase, which is another similar sort of race, isn't it? Huge field. The draw could play a part. I can't wait.
And completing our team, he's making his debut on What a Shout. He's representative from Betfred, Matt Hume. How was your Ascot? You claimed it, presumably.
From a personal point of view, yeah, it was steady away. But in terms of the company, we literally couldn't have written in the results any better. Friday, they were findable, but the other 4 days were just incredible. I mean, incredible prices, as Kale's mentioned there. Cardham, where did that come from? A valiant force, 150 to 1. I mean, it was just incredible. And the punters were weeping for most of the week, sadly.
And offers, odds, what have you got that you can throw our way for the weekend?
Yeah, well, we're going to go 4 places on the Vase, the Northumberland, the consolation race for the Plate. And will be 5 places itself on the Plate. We'll put something up our sleeve a little later on, hopefully, when we hear from our guest as well.
Good stuff. We'll be catching up with you for prices as we go through each race. So this is what we've got coming up. Like I said, we'll be previewing 6 races. We've got the Irish Derby on Sunday. We've got a few races from Newcastle and from Newmarket. We've also got Hugo Palmer that will be joining us live on the phone. He's got a couple of big players, particularly at Newcastle, I should say, and he won the consolation race last year. To become a member of the Racing Post Members Club, we've got an exclusive offer of 50% off for the first 3 months. Find out more here. Well, I'm pleased to be joined by Hugo Palmer on What a Shout. Hugo, how was Ascot for you?
Well, it was a lot of fun. It was a long and tiring week. We didn't get a lot of luck with the horses. A few draws and ground and various things going our way. It didn't go our way. You really need everything in your camp to win at Ascot, but we had a really good time anyway.
And you move on from that, and it's such a busy time of year. It's relentless. Busy weekend at Newcastle, and Newcastle's quite a sort of special place from you. You weren't brought up a million miles away from it.
No, I wouldn't pretend to be a Geordie, but I'm definitely from that part of the world. I grew up just over the border into Scotland. I was 4 years at university at Newcastle, and I'm a Newcastle United fan, which has been fun the last 18 months. So. The races at Newcastle always carry special weight for me. And funny enough, particularly when it was a turf track, it was one of the tracks where I managed to have quite a good strike rate quite early on in my career. So, it's a track that's been kind to me.
Well, you've got some big chances on Saturday. We're going to start off with Brad the Brief, who in the Chipchase stakes is one of the leading fancies. What can you tell us about him?
Well, he's a soft ground horse, and so we have to be very careful where we run him. He was prepared last year to run, I think, probably 7 times, and actually only ran 3 times. He was a non-runner twice, and we didn't declare him twice just because rain that was forecast just didn't materialise. He goes very well fresh. He won his first 2 starts for us last year, including the Group 2 Greenland Stakes at Curragh. And by the time he ran on Champions Day at Ascot, he was unfortunately, I think, just over the top. So he went back to the stud the next day and had a wonderful break there, came back looking absolutely fantastic just before Christmas. He then managed to get his tooth stuck in a bit of his rug, and he broke his tooth and actually fractured his jaw. And having looked fantastic, he grew a winter coat and lost weight, although we only actually missed 2 days exercise with him. It just upset him a bit, and he just, as you can imagine, even though he was still eating, he just lost weight. So it's taken us quite a long time to get him back. When the ground was right for him, he wasn't right for the ground, and then he's been ready now for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But of course, it's been so hot. So this has always been our backup plan if we couldn't get to Ascot. And his rider said to me the other morning, "Look, I don't think we've ever had him as good as we've got him at the moment." So. We're very hopeful that he goes into the race, that he goes right up to his very best, and as you say, he's top rated in the race, and if he runs to his very best, they'll all have to improve quite a bit to beat him.
And you have got a very good record with these types of horses off the back of quite a long layoff.
Yeah, we try to get our horses ready first time. I've always had it in my head that if horses aren't fit first time, then maybe that first effort could hurt. I certainly know whenever I try to take exercise, not being very fit at all, it hurts. So I don't like the idea of putting them off because of them not being ready. So we try to have them ready first time, and I'm pretty comfortable that he is ready, and I hope he'll go there and run a really big race.
You've got a couple of leading chances in the Northumberland Plate. Now, you won the Vase last year, and Zoffy's back again in the big race, having ran a blinder at Chester.
He ran a blinder at Chester, and he actually ran a blinder at Royal Ascot last week. And Charlotte Kerry, who rides him every morning, said to me this morning, "God, if he doesn't win this week, then I don't know what's happening. He just feels incredible," she said. So it's We're really looking forward to it. He loves the track, and I don't think being drawn out wide is any disadvantage to him either.
Okay, what about Radzinski? Because he ran a very good race to finish 4th in this last year and also ran a cracking race in the Chester Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a slightly different horse. Obviously, he's top weight, so he's the best horse in the race. He's being ridden by young man Conor Planis, who claims a very useful 5 off him. I think if you look him up, Conor Planis is operating a 32% strike rate at the moment, 9 wins from his last 28 rides, which for any jockey is pretty exceptional. But for an apprentice, he should be going into the race with real confidence. It's sad that we don't have Harry Davis, who's got such a good relationship with this horse, but I think Conor will be a good replacement. He stays very well. He's a slightly different type to Zoffy in that he probably wants to be ridden more prominently, which is probably a good thing, therefore, that he's drawn low and Zoffy's drawn high.
So 3 big players in 2 of the key races at Newcastle. What else have you got dotted around the country that's worth mentioning on Saturday?
Not actually dotted around the country. We're just at Chester on Saturday. We've got Roman Dragon, who's drawn 1 at Chester on his favourite track, and then we've got a couple of fillies in the novice there. Both with chances. Probably the better chance of the 2 would be OG Beachwear, because she's having her 3rd start of the year, and she's well drawn with Franny Norton in the plate. And but Princess Nyla, who's drawn 6, is a nice filly. She just having her 1st start of the year, so she might just be a little bit rusty.
Good stuff. So are you going to Chester or Newcastle, or neither?
No, I'm going to be at Chester. We've got a box full of owners entertaining them at Chester, so I'm going to be there watching on from afar.
Brilliant. Well, good luck, and thank you very much for joining us on the programme.
No worries, anytime.
Good to hear from trainer Hugo Palmer. We're now going to turn our attention to the first of the 6 races that we're going to be previewing this morning on What a Shout, and that is action at Newcastle. It's the Chipchase Stakes. That is a competitive Group 3. Kicks off at 12:55, and actually Hugo's got a big chance here in the shape of Brad the Brief. How do we bet, Matt?
Yeah, he's got a decent chance. He looks like he doesn't. He's 7-2 there, but we are going to be top price Brad the Brief for a couple of hours. So Hugo Palmer's Brad the Brief will get sure the top industry priced on that one. Tiber Flow could be a good weekend, couldn't it, for William Haggis and Tom Marquand. That's your favourite in there, 130. Mount Athos, interesting dropped in trip, really keen sort. He's down to 6 furlongs, 4-1. Spy Cat 4-1. And got a Royal Ascot winner in here, and of course Witch Hunter is going to take over from Jamie Spencer. He's in there at 9-2. What a week it was last week for Julie Camacho. The old boy Judicial in here at 12-1.
No 50-1 about Witch Hunter today, and it's a very different type of race, isn't it?
It's one of those. When I was reviewing all the races at Royal Ascot, I thought, is Witch Hunter the one that got away from me? Now, I've got to be honest, I didn't even think about him on the day, but when you look at some of his form, particularly all-weather form, and there are plenty of horses that have run really well at Newcastle, particularly before Royal Ascot, and got on one. Of course, he was second in the Champions all-weather sprint there. Only just got beaten. And had run an RPR of 111 and had come back down, or his turf mark had been left alone, and he was on a mark of 103. You know, when I look back at it, I think, he was gettable. And it annoyed me a little bit, and I just thought, why didn't I think of that? Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those. But you know, I can't say I thought with him seriously. He's got a chance here. I think Hugo's horse, there is an argument for saying he should be a good deal shorter. It's just the absence that I suppose is putting people off. When you see an official rating of 114, he won a Group 2 at the Curragh last year. He's unpenalised because the penalties don't kick in until the start of this year. If he is ready to go, Ashley Murphy's obviously a good booking for him. He does go well fresh. I think he's got a big chance. I was leaning towards Spycatcher earlier in the week, just because he's come back from a gelding operation. Looks like a different horse altogether. He absolutely thrashed Mount Athos on his return, finished 4th in the Victoria Cup, and of course he's got some really good 6 furlong form from last year. He's got a good run. He does have a good run at this track, and he'd also finished second in the Duke of York in May last year. So he's versatile. I ended up filing it in too difficult and I'm punting in 2:14 and 19 runner handicaps later on, but I ended up saying I'm not gonna put anything up here, but I'm leaning towards Spycatcher.
Okay, yeah, I'm a Spycatcher fan. Actually finished well beaten in the race last year, but as you pointed out, was then gelded and seems a different horse. Versatile, 6 and 7 furlongs, and Newcastle takes a bit of getting still, doesn't it?
Strange track, yeah.
Yeah.
I do a lot of all weather during the winter, and this is the most difficult of them, I find. The wind plays havoc there. The draw can play havoc there. It's very difficult to win on the inside sometimes. And a lot of horses go too soon, and some races are very slowly run as well on the straight course. It's almost as though the jockeys aren't quite sure whether they're going too quick. I don't know whether they've quite got
the surface can be a bit variable as well, can't it too?
It's a weird place. It really is. I don't really like betting there, but this is one of the biggest meetings of the season, so I will be getting involved. The absence wouldn't worry me about Brad the Brief, right? Because Hugo Palmer's a strange trainer in that his horses run better off layoffs a lot of the time than they do after they've had a run.
Yeah.
He's got an amazing record when they're coming off a long break, Hugo. So that certainly wouldn't put me off. But I like Witch Hunter, the one that won last week at Ascot. Kills has already said the course and distance form. Diligent Harry won that race. The third was Anaf, who finished third in the King's Stand last week, and the fourth was Mum's Tipple, who was fourth in the Wokingham. So I mean that form's really good at the track. Before last week, I'd have told you that Witch Hunter was a far better horse on the weather than he was on turf. And when he won at Ascot, it was his first win on turf. So I think the return to the all weather is really going to suit him. He obviously goes well at the track. Drop back in trip will suit as long as they go a good pace.
Yeah.
Like I've just said, at Newcastle, sometimes they don't go very hard and they go slow, and then he will struggle because, of course, last week he really benefited from that good gallop coming late under Jamie Spencer, didn't he?
Because he'll be ridden cold, won't he?
Yeah.
Like he was at Ascot.
Yeah, of course he will.
And if it falls for him and they go a good gallop, it'll work out well. If not, people are going to go, oh, why are you sitting last again? You know, but that seems to be the way he likes to.
I think that's the way he has to operate. And if they go good pace, it does suit horses who come from off the pace at Newcastle. But that's the key. If they go good pace, I don't know if they will. I hope they will win.
Okay, well, we're going to switch our attention between Newmarket and Newcastle. We'll now flip over to the 1:15 at Newmarket. That is the Fred Archer Stakes. So this is run over 1.5 miles. It's a listed race. And let's have a look at how they bet with Matt.
Yeah, we've got Charlie Appleby's a New London in here as favourite 11 to 10. I mean, he had obviously no luck whatsoever at Ascot, but away from Ascot, 7 of his last 8 horses have actually gone in at likes of Doncaster, Newcastle, and Newmarket, which is incredible considering the Ascot that Charlie Appleby had. So 11 to 10 favourite here at New London. I've not seen him for 420 days. His stablemate El Darby a little later on, and Kamari stablemate the companion. That's in there 11 to 2. Phantom Flight is an 8 to 1 to bounce back James Thornton, and Outbox likely ace angle in here is 25.
Okay, not a surprise to see New London heading the market here. Of course, we last seen him finishing second in the Ledger, but it's the absence, isn't it? Of course. And
it is the absence.
did you find with the yard that the market's a really good guide as to where they're at?
I actually find with Godolphin horses, when the money comes for Godolphin horses, it's just very rarely far away.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of the 2-year-olds, you can see quite some second string 2-year-olds, particularly on the July course at Newmarket. See them shorten a few points, and I get very tempted. And it's not I'm not normally the one that will follow the market, but I do think when the money's down with Godolphin horses, they definitely know. Obviously we'll have to wait and see to see how the market unfolds. New London, he does have an absence to come over, but so does his main, and you could argue only proper form rival Al-Azi as well, because he's been off even longer for 120 days. New London's had a wind operation since running second in the Ledger. He was actually third, promoted, and I was worried about Charlie Appleby form. I thought, hang on a minute, he hasn't had any runners since Ascot. But then if you look at the early racing in the week, he probably didn't have any horses bad enough to be running on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And obviously he's had 2 winners. They were both novice races at odds on, so they probably didn't take much winning. But if I look at this market, I say that Al-Azi's got the better form, and only marginally, but he's a bigger price. He can go well for it. He only ran once last year and he won. And if I was going to have a bet, and I won't be, it's not my sort of race, I would probably take New London on with Al-Azi. I think his best form is just slightly better, and he's getting a couple of pounds from New London, who obviously has that, the still unexposed 4-year-old younger horse profile. You could argue he should be favourite, but it would be Al-Azi for me.
Graeme, looking at it, the market come the race, you'd have thought would be quite a good guide, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because the first two in the market come off long absences.
Yeah.
How Ozzy's a strange horse, isn't he? Because he looked really, really good, and then he looked really, really bad, and then he came back and looked really, really good off a long absence. Now, what Ozzy are we going to get here? Are we going to get the really, really good one, or the really, really bad one? I'm not sure. New London, the horse that interests me, right, in this race at the prices is Phantom Flight. Right, New London and Phantom Flight, they met each other at the track last year on the July course over a mile and a quarter, and New London won the race. I think New London was giving him £4 that day in a handicap. He's got to give him £5 here. But Phantom Flight did not get the best of runs through that race. You know, he got caught on the inside. New London was nicely placed, got first run on him, and then Phantom Flight was finishing, coming after him towards the finish. I remember coming away, I was at Newmarket that day, coming away thinking, yeah, Phantom Flight, he's a horse for the future. I'll look out for him. And he went on to win a big handicap at York. And then he was beaten behind Royal Champion. He got absolutely thrashed by Royal Champion at Ayr. And Royal Champion, we obviously know now, is quite smart because he went out and won at Ascot last week. He wasn't at his best that day. James Horton used to be with Stouty, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I can only presume that this horse is going to progress along kind of stout lines. You know, he's just going to get better and better as he gets older. That's what I'm hoping for. And this season, I thought he was one to follow, but he has been beaten twice. When he turned up first time out at Kempton, I thought there's no way this track is going to suit Phantom Flight. He takes him a long, long time to wind up in his races, and those tight turns, I just thought he's not going to be suited by it. And he ran well, finished third. Then again, he turned up at Goodwood last time, quite an undulating downhill sort of track, and I thought, again, not sure this is his course. Ran well, finished third, finishing well, and now they're going up in trip, back at Newmarket, big galloping track, long straight. I think it really suit him. He might improve past New London. So at the prices, Phantom Flight for me.
The 1:30 at Newcastle, the Northumberland Vase is no doubt an open betting heat. Keels has already alluded to the fact he's got a couple up his sleeve at Newcastle and the big handicaps. Matt, how do they bet?
Here we go then, let's have a look. Blow Your Horn on a 4-time under penalty for Williams and Richard Kingscote. 7-2, got Appiah under Ben Curtis, that's in at 5-1. 30-2 Thermos Scope, 15-2 both Citizen General and Mostly Sunny. There's a massive £17 weight for age allowance of Hadrianus, 9-1 will he stay with a Sheen Murphy on board. 10's La Hacienda, 12's Legendary Day, and Old Falak. But a love-hate relationship with Falak. I love to back him. He hates to win. He's got a horrible strike rate, but there'll be no better bred horse running here this weekend. Out of the Art with a Daydream, of course. He's got top weight. He stays. I think he'll run well each way, but I tell you, I can never get him right.
There's a first time for everything. Graeme, what kind of horse are you looking for to win these staying races? You've touched on the fact that Newcastle's difficult. They should go a good gallop here.
Well, they should, yeah. I mean, this is what happens in a lot of these staying races, though. They don't. Yeah, I rate a lot of these races and watch a lot of them, and there's a lot of small field races that they go slow, and they sprint up the straight. But that isn't what happened when Blow Your Horn won at Pontefract on Sunday. They went a real strong pace in that race, and he travelled through the race nicely. And coming off the home bend, he went about 6 wide, but he was still hard on the steel. He put the race to bed really, really nicely, I thought, and I absolutely whacked him up on the RPRs. I gave him his highest figure before Sunday was 94, and I gave him 94 because I thought it was that good. And now, of course, he turns up here running off just a £1 higher mark under a £7 penalty, which I think is either a double penalty or a penalty for one of his previous wins. So, you know, if I've got it right and he's run to an RPR 94 and he's running off 77, you know, he's thrown in, isn't he? He could be £15-16 willing if I've got it right. But of course, that's the question. Have I got it right? We'll find out on Saturday. The bookmakers, obviously, I think I got it right because they've got him in as favourite. And if they do go up a good pace, I think it'll suit him. He's in the absolute form of his life, and he's a very uncomplicated horse. However, there are going to be, because this is not this is the weird thing about these big races, because this is not the plate, this is the Vase, some of the unexposed horses can get in it, you see, whereas in the plate, it's harder for the unexposed horses to get in because they've not got the rating. So, as Matt's already said, was it Hadrianus is the 3-year-old getting the huge amount of weight. Time and time again, you see the Johnson do this with stayers, turn the 3-year-olds out and they're getting loads of weight and they win. It's devilishly difficult. I have to back my own view on Blow Your Horn, having given him that huge RPR last week. I have to stick with him, even at the prices. He's short enough, I think, but I have to stick with that view.
Keels, Any strong view? I think you've got one up your sleeve here, haven't you?
Well, I'm quite a fan of Blow Your Horn. It might be the last horse I'd actually tipped that won. And that wasn't last time either, it was the time before. But no, he's, Ian Williams is a cracking trainer of flat stayers. I had a look back when I was previewing Blow Your Horn's previous race, and you backed every horse of his since 2009 at 1 mile 6 or further, you'd be in profit, which is mental. To do that, and it's obviously only gone up since because he's won a couple, and yeah, he won very, very easy. Been extremely well placed because the weights were out for this before he started his winning run, so he could only ever carry a £7 penalty, even though he's won 3 times, and he's probably £10 well in. In fact, he was third in this race off a £10 high mark 2 years ago. Only thing you can level against him is the fact that it's his 4th run in the space of a month, and it's quite a quick backup. And you know how stiff Pontefract is, and no matter how easily you win, everything else in the race was knackered.
Yeah.
So they've gone hard, and whether that's taken the edge off him. So there's that. Appier is £2 well in, and won really well last time, and there was plenty of money for him for the plate. But he just missed out. But I quite like the look of Thermoscope for Keith Dalglish, and that's the one I've backed. He was trained in Ireland and came over, had 1 run for Brian Ellis and 1 here at Newcastle, and then went to Keith Dalglish, who obviously is packing up soon, so he's going to be moving on again. But he absolutely gagged up in his first run, over 2 mile at Musselburgh, 1 by 9 lengths, shot up the ratings then, and then got beat at a short price, but he got beat dropping back to 1 mile 5 at Hamilton in a small field race. And it wouldn't suit him at all, because if you see the way he won at Newcastle and at Musselburgh, he's a proper stayer. And if they go hard, I think he's quite capable of improving on that mark. He's going to have to if Blow Your Horn is up to his best, and if Appier stays, because he hasn't gone further than 1.5 miles. But yeah, I'm quite a fan of him, and I'm quite a fan of Keith Dalglish as well. He's been a cracking trainer. He's funny, he's just giving up because he wants to try something else. Like, you know what I mean? Not running out of horses, not running out of money. Just
what's a new challenge?
Why not do something else? Like, I wish I had the guts to do that sometimes. What a cracking
What
bloke.
else could you do?
Exactly.
There are many, many things, I'm sure. I wasn't saying that.
Unemployable shelf stacker.
Can I just throw one in, right? Because earlier in the week, someone texted me and they said, have a look at Ace Rothstein in the Vase. He's going to be a complete outsider. They've got a new trainer, Dylan Cunha, and he's quite good. And he's been running over the wrong trip, trained by Martin Smith. I think this horse is quietly fancied, and he's one of the big outsiders, so we'll be having a little bit each round.
We've backed this horse somewhere in the past, haven't we?
Ace Rothstein.
Yeah, he went to an RPO of 95 at his best, and he's now down to a mark of 79. So you can see if there's an outsider, he's got a run of 83 here. You can see him, if there's a big outsider, he does have the form in the book to factor. But I mean, until Rod has mentioned him, I hadn't even thought about him, to be honest. But he does have back form that suggests he can win it.
The 150 at Newmarket is the Group 3 Criteria Stakes. Matt, how do we bet here?
Yeah, small but select field on this one. Emirates the 6 going to post, and Aldara is your favourite 7-4. But I think it depends on what happens with Al Arsi. Don't forget, they're both coming back off 420-day layoffs. Both ridden by William Haggis, both ridden by Jim Crowley and the Shadwell. So if Al Arsi bombs out, I think Aldara will drift. If Al Arsi goes in and wins, well, I expect they'll pile into Aldara. That's how I see punters beating this one. Pogo's 11-4, a grand servant. He's been to connections. And Berkshire Shadow on the go quite a bit this season. Another Royal Ascot runner coming in here at 4-1, and Jumbie 9-2, got to give weights all around. So they're the main 4 for the 6-runner Criterion.
Interesting betting there, Graeme. Aldari off the layoff. He's a difficult one to weigh up, really, isn't he?
Yeah, very difficult. I think they'll be pleased to see the rain come, won't they? All of his best form is on soft ground, and it's pouring down not far from me recently, and I was there yesterday.
The problem is it
Newmarket.
dries up so quickly at Newmarket.
It does, yeah. You just don't know how soft the ground's going to be. But it should be okay for Aldari, you would say. And on his best form, he's different class to this lot, isn't he? He should be too good for them. But when I see him coming off that layoff, I do want to take him on at short price. It's just natural, isn't it, as a punter. Pogo I absolutely love, but he seems to have lost his form entirely. Don't know why.
Has he just lost his form because he's been running in very, very good races
Yeah,
out
possible.
of his depth?
I mean, he has been running in Saudi, hasn't he, and
Yeah.
Maidan, and then he was in the triple time race, wasn't he? And he loves Newmarket. He's got a great record at Newmarket, mostly on the Rowley Mile, but the July course is not that much different, is it?
Not far away.
No, it's just down the road, isn't it? So yeah, he loves it. But if the ground is not too soft, I'm going to stick with Jumbie to give weight all round. I just was impressed with the way that he won at Haydock. It was round a bend, but he travelled beautifully through that race. I thought he had him covered a long way out. The runner-up was the Astrologist, wasn't it? Which is the Hong Kong horse, who had loads of good form in top races, and everyone told me that he was a certainty for that race, and Jumbie beat him easily. Ground is a concern. All his best form is on good to firm ground or good ground. But if it's not that bad, I'll take a chance on him.
Okay, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I live in Newmarket. It poured with rain on Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and then it was quite nice, and I think it's probably going to be dry.
Yeah, it was a drying day there on Thursday, for sure.
I don't think it'll be bad. Berkshire Shadow's obviously interesting. 5th in the Queen Anne last time, was 3rd in the Lockinge. 4th in the Dewhurst as a 2-year-old.
Yeah,
does he appeal to you or not?
He doesn't for this race because I've only got eyes for Pogo. But he's a very solid horse, and he seems to have come back better than ever at the age of 4 as well. I'm firmly of the opinion that the ground will end up being against Aldari. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't run in the end.
Yeah.
Now, obviously he was pulled out of that race. He was in the 5-day entries as favourite of the race that Jumbie won at Haydock. Didn't run because the ground was too fast, and yes, it chucked it down with rain. In the morning they called going good to soft. Abel Kane's win yesterday over 7 furlongs was at a faster time than all but 4 of 41 7-furlong races run at Newmarket July course last year, when the ground was officially good to firm for most of it. Now, I think part of that reason is it wasn't actually good to firm for most of it, but it certainly can't have been that slow for him to run that fast yesterday. So we're going to have a dry day today. There's now virtually no rain forecast, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if it is back to good to firm and he doesn't run. Even if he does run, I don't think he can win unless there's soft in the going description. He's an absolute mudlark. His 3 runs on good to firm or faster than good to soft have, the best of them is almost a stone off his best form, so I can't have him at all. Pogo, I would forgive him all 3 runs this year. First one in Riyadh, second one over 6 furlongs,
Dubai.
and Maidan in a proper sprint, and then held up over a mile. In a stiff track like Ascot. I mean, come on, Pogo. We know what Pogo is. He's a front running 7 furlong horse, and his form figures at the two Newmarket tracks: 1-1-1, 2-2-2, 1. Yes, he's run more times on the Rowley Mile, but he's unbeaten on the July course. He hacked up in this race last year, hacked up in the Challenge Stakes in October as well. I don't believe his form's suddenly gone off a cliff. He's just been in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Now he's in the right place. So
chasing big prize money.
I expect him to win. The only thing I hope is that audience who can go forward doesn't get in his way.
Well,
because if he gets an easy lead, he'll win.
Do you think they're going to make the running? Or are they going to hold him up again?
Absolutely.
I mean, why hold him up last time?
Probably because it was a mile. Probably because it sounds silly, but you see it. They know he can't win that race. It's a stepping stone to Newmarket.
Yeah, the one thing I would say as well, just to support your argument here, Keels, right?
It doesn't need support, mate. It was brilliant.
Is that on Thursday when I was there were I didn't stay for last, but the first 6 races, 5 of them were won by horses that raced in the first 2.
Yeah, exactly. But there was a big tailwind. That does account for some of at least for some of the time. But I don't believe it was good to soft.
No.
And it is only going to quicken up. And in any case, Pogo has form on soft ground as well. It's just
Pogo's got it covered.
The key to him is Newmarket.
Newcastle's big race of the day is the 205, the Northumberland Plate, also known as the Pitman's Derby. Let's have a look with Matt. How they bet here?
Yeah, let's have a look then. So we are 5 places each way on the Northumberland Plate. And, of course, we're going to go top price, both Zoffy and Rajinski, with Hugo Palmer being the guest. But massive gamble on golden rules here. 400 with John and Thady Gosden. Now with Deborah Faulkner, we know the owner's been talking. That's what She Murphy's going to ride. 3-1. This is now been absolutely smashed throughout today. 3-1 your favourite. Post Impressions is one that I really like. Putting Maggis and Tom Mark band 11-2. Same price as Michael Carl's Adjuvant. The top price, Zoffy, as you mentioned, Hugo Palmer's runner here with Ben Curtis on. Nathaniel Green, even Haggis, another strong hand, 8-1. An Omnisign 10-1 for Sir Mark Prescott. Can he work that staying magic once again? It's 12-1 and bigger the remainder.
Perfect, good stuff. Post-impressionist, the tip there for Matt. Graeme, some punt on the favourite here.
Yeah, it's some punt. When I looked at the market yesterday, he was 8-1, and now he's 3-1 favourite. They're backing him all rates off the boards, and what a story it will be. He was bought for 6,500 guineas, I think, at the end of last season. Now John Gosson's stable. He's come out and he's won that race at Kempton, easily under Oisin Murphy. Deborah Faulkner training him, wouldn't be a household name. Great to see her win a big race like this, wouldn't it, if it were to happen? I'm trying to remember the name of the horse that made all in this race, but Withhold. Withhold was the horse that made all in this race. So, like we said earlier, although Newcastle often can be a very difficult place to come from behind on the round track, sometimes they don't always go as hard as you think they can. And it is possible to make all the running, and Withhold did it. And I expect that's the tactics that we'll see from Golden Rules, because that's what they did at Kempton last time, bounce him out in front, nice and prominent, and they never looked like catching him. He's just too short, isn't he? He's too short.
He is now.
He's now, yeah.
Keels?
Well, he's way too short, isn't he? I mean, it's the most ridiculous, one of the most ridiculous prices I've ever seen. If you're still jumping on him, what are you doing? I mean, there's no way he goes off a 3-1 tomorrow, and not in a million years. He drifts right back out. I'm not saying he's got no chance. He obviously won really well last time. It's 3 months ago. It was only a soft race at Kempton, but you know he did win really well. He's obviously fancied, but come on, 3-1, 7-2. Give us a break. If you haven't got best odds guaranteed, you must be mad to be backing him at that price. Guaranteed drifter. But no, I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't rule him out. I prefer others. A Post Impressionist was the obvious favourite for me. Finished second to Eldo. Eldo was quite eye-catching as well at this track last year, and obviously improved. Won a good handicap at York on his last start. But I actually thought at the prices, and although he shortened a bit since Nathaniel Green was the one to back. He's actually going to be £15 better off for 4 lengths with Post Impressionist on that York run, and he's had his 2 starts this season, both of them good. He was 5th first time to Sheer Rocks. He went on to win at Epsom on Derby Day, and then he was 4th last time to Courage Mon Ami. And he wasn't given the hardest of times once Courage Mon Ami went past him, and he showed how well he stayed when he won a 1 mile 6 furlong handicap at Haydock last year. Obviously Tom Marcon's chosen Post Impressionist. But you always find that when you get second strings in big handicaps, they're not there just to make up the numbers. You've got big owners. The jockey has got to choose one or the other, isn't it? I don't know how easy it was, but I think Nathaniel Green's got a big chance. Hasn't run on the all-weather. Nathaniel has a 18% strike rate at Newcastle, which is incredibly good. So that interests me. And Omniscient was the other one I backed for Sir Mark Prescott. He just ran away. It was only a Class 4 Southwell race last year in October. So he does have to improve on that. But everything about him says he's going to get this trip. He's going to love it. He's a half brother to Dashing Willoughby, who won a Queen's Vase, and the Henry II at Sandown. And he obviously likes Tapiter. And the stable is just absolutely flying, isn't it? And it's back to, I know Sir Mark Prescott knows how to game the system, and he hasn't been winning loads of races at this level. But when you've got a virtual 50% strike rate over the last 2 months, I think it's 16 winners from 33 runners, and he's held steady all week at 10-1. I think that's a fair enough price. He ran Summers Knight, poor old Summers Knight, who lost his life later last summer in this race last year. He was a touch unlucky in running in 5th. I'm sure this has been the plan for a long while. Luke Morris talked him up as well earlier on in the week. So yeah, those are my 2 against the field, but you can obviously make cases for plenty more.
Graeme, I feel like you weren't conclusive with a selection.
Well, I've actually, as I said, I've rated this race for RPR. And I've got 4 top rateds, right? I've got 4 horses on adjusted RPRs, all level on 118, which tells you just how difficult this race is. And I actually was torn between one, and because I have to pick one. I have to pick one. If I can send 4 top, but I have to pick one as the actual tip, my own selection. And I actually was going to send Aztec Empire as my selection, right? I was like, be brave, because he's got some really, really good form on the all-weather, and he's just disappointed on his last 2 starts, including on soft ground last time out at Newbury. But then I did that awful thing that you should never ever do, and then change your mind. And I thought, no, don't be silly. That probably won't win. And then I ended up backing Calling the Wind, who finished second to the horse with no name, one of the best named horses in training. The horse with no name. Last time at Ascot a couple of weeks ago, Zoffy, who's another of my top rated, trained by Hugo, of course. Matt's going top price about Zoffy. I mean, he ran a huge race in that race as well, just behind Calling the Wind. He was wide on the outside, didn't get as good a run as Calling the Wind. Billy Loughnane had Calling the Wind in perfect position. But I watched the end, and Calling the Wind was going on nicely at the finish. And I thought, well, he's in good form. He's finished off the race well. Of course, we haven't got Billy the Kid on here, which is a downside, isn't it? Loughnane is superb, isn't he? But we have got Neil Callan, and he was superb at Ascot, wasn't he? He rode Burdett Road home to win. Gave that a super ride. As you will probably get. I'm not that confident. I could easily see 4, 5 running well, but I've come down on Calling the Wind. I'll have a little bit on Aztec Empire. I think that's what it's called. And Hugo's also could run well as well. Zoffy.
Let's turn our attention to the Irish Derby on Sunday at the Curragh and have a quick look how they bet with Matt. And no doubt Aidan's Augusta Rodin is very short.
Yeah, but in for a 15th win in the race, of course, Augusta Rodin won the Betfred Derby. Beating King of Steel, that form was pretty good after his win at Royal Ascot. 3-1 on Augusta Rodin now to do the Derby double. 5-1 White Birch and Spreewell were both in his wake, of course, at Epsom. 12-1 up and under, 25-1 and bigger the remainder. It looks like an O'Brien benefit, doesn't it? He's 3s on Augusta Rodin, a magnificent 15th Irish Derby, the Master of Ballydoyle.
He's quite incredible, isn't he? One stat I couldn't believe that 15 is what Aidan is targeting. Yeah. Ryan Moore, none.
Exactly, Aidan O'Brien 15,
he must have won
Ryan
everything
Moore
else.
0, and he's had some shorties beat. None odds on, has to be said. 2 evens, 2 5-4, 1 11-8, but he's 0 from 10 overall.
He's obviously no good, isn't he?
Yeah, he can't ride the Curragh.
He's no good in the Irish Derby.
Can't ride the Curragh, can he? I mean, obviously, Augusta Rodin is clear favourite, deserves to be favourite, and may well win. He's got horses that were behind him. We already know that. We already seen that the Derby form appears to be very good. King of Steel bolting up at Royal Ascot, White Hero doing the same. My question was, when they went past the post, and I don't know whether this was pocket talking or not, I wanted to have another go at Spreewell because I thought A, he didn't handle the track, and B, he didn't get the best of runs.
No.
Now he didn't see it out quite as strongly because obviously White Birch went past him. But I don't think stamina's an issue. I just think things didn't go well for him. So because there's just enough runners for an each way bet, I may throw a couple of quid his way in the hope that he can get him, and then buy more Hoodoo stays for another year at least. Augusta Rodin could be very good, obviously, because it turns out that he's cut down a very good horse, isn't it, when he won. So I'm not saying I'm as confident as I felt I was straight after the Derby, but I will have a couple of quid on Spreewell.
Okay. Graeme, what do you think?
I think he'll probably win, won't he? I thought he did remarkably well to win the Derby. I don't think really the race went his way. He came from a long way back. It wasn't a very fast run Derby. They finished quickly. He did well to make up the ground and catch King of Steel. We know how good King of Steel is. Waipiro looks good, but you got to remember he did blow out entirely in the Guineas, didn't he? Just one run before. So he's not exempt from having the odd big blowout run on his record, and he is.
And he's got Ryan Moore on.
He's got Ryan Moore on, of course.
Massive hindrance in the Irish Derby.
Always gets beat on favourites in this race. So it would not be the biggest surprise to me if he were beaten, but I think he'll win. I'd love to see him win. I think we all want to see a star, don't we? We always want to see a star 3-year-old. We always want to see the Derby winner go on to win the Derby and then go on and be a champion, and that's what I hope happens. But I wouldn't back him at 1-3, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was beaten.
Well, if you'd like £200 of free bets, let's find out here how to claim it. Well, it's time to find out our best bets of the week. We'll start with you, Matt. What have you got lined up and up your sleeve?
Well, I do like Monad Hoss in the Chipchase. I think he might be able to turn that form around with Spycatcher on better terms. Post Impressionist, I really like in the Northumberland play. I thought he was still going on at the line at York last year. I know he's had a break, but I think he's got a huge chance. But I'm actually going to go to Chester in the 342, good little handicap 7 furlongs there. Divine Libra for Charles Hills. One on heavy ground at Catterick was really keen. That they was too keen at Newmarket last time out. They're looking at a listed race potentially for this. When Equatorial, Roger Vaughan and Franny Norton, they make the market. He's going to mark a 93 for winning these at Salisbury last time. But Divine Libra, I think the tight turns of Chester, that 7 furlongs, he's drawn in 7, but he might just keep him busy. He might just give Rui Costello a chance to ease him into the race. And I think he's way ahead of his mark. So they were looking at potentially listed races for him. Far too keen last time. If he can just settle, I think he's a decent play in that 342 at Chester.
Perfect. Chester it is for Matt. Graeme, where are you going with your best bet
I'm going
Saturday?
For the 12:20 at Newcastle. It's called
It's an early start, isn't it?
Yeah, early start. I'm actually really a fan of this. I really like early start.
Okay.
I like what they're doing with the times where they have the 27 and the 29, like a dog race. I like that. Anyway, I'm going to 12:20.
They go off at 30 then, don't they, from 27? Because they never go off on time anyway.
No, yeah. But then the 30 goes off at 33 and it all falls into place, doesn't it? Anyway, I know everyone was waiting on tenterhooks for my best bet of the day.
Come on, we are.
12:20 at Newcastle.
Yeah.
So we just got up out of bed, some people, and just getting themselves ready. Ratia was also, he won very well at Haydock last time. They went a very good pace in that race. He travelled beautifully through it, posted a really good time. And last week, Julie Camacho, sorry, I don't know the name of the owners, and they all did me a really nice turn, with the one that won the, I've forgotten its name. Shaquille, Shaquille. And I'm hoping they're going to do it again with, what's it called?
He's forgotten his best
Ratia.
Absolutely mad,
in the
isn't
12:20 at Newcastle.
That's it. Get on.
It's funny, I backed him in a week, and it worries me that the field is cut up because he wants a strong gallop.
Yeah, that is.
That just, so I was a little bit, it's weird, isn't it? Because if you have an anti-post bet, you actually want the field to cut up, don't you? But if it gets just,
it's too small,
I just have a little bit of a worry that, in this he saw lots. He actually saw lots of daylight at Haydock last time, so he could probably do it himself if he wants. But I've actually ended up going against him. But no, then happened today.
Oh, we know what this is going to be. He made such a strong case.
Pogo. Who's going to bounce out and make all.
Pogo for Keels. I'm going to go with Spycatcher in the Chipchase. As I say, I think he's just been a changed horse since he was gelded. And I like his form this year. He's effective 6 and 7. Hopefully, if they go a good gallop, it would be Spycatcher for me in that open-looking Chipchase. Fancy a trip to the Breeders' Cup? Well, if you place a bet on the Racing Post app, this is your chance to win it. Well, Matt, it's been a pleasure having you with us. How have you found your debut on What a Shout?
Yeah, brilliant. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully we've found a few winners between us as well.
What about your weekend plans? Are you going racing anywhere or sitting in the armchair punting?
Yeah, sitting in the armchair. I'll be in the studio here at Betfred TV on Saturday, and obviously we've got the Betfred British Masters golf ongoing final day. So it's all off to the Belfry on Sunday. Good
stuff. We will see you again soon, hopefully next week. Graeme, what about you? You're going to be up early on Saturday for the 12:20.
For the 12:20 at Newcastle. No, I'm looking forward to the weekend. I would really like to go racing on Saturday at Newmarket or Windsor even, but I think that might be put on ice by the family. There's lots of things to be done football-wise with the kids and all sorts going on. Sunday, there's actually Blippy Family Day at Windsor. Now, do you know who Blippy is?
No, absolutely no. My kids are well grown up now.
Anyway, he's like a kid's sort of entertainer kind of guy. And again, I'd love to go, but I won't be able to make it there, I don't think, because I've got some sort of suit fitting for a wedding that's coming up. So it's a really busy weekend. I'm going to watch the racing while doing loads of other stuff.
sounds flat out, doesn't he, Keels? What about you?
Well, I'm going to be
You off for a run, shedding more pounds to this
Going on his
svelte
pogo stick.
figure.
He is.
Giving up doing
He's
that.
going on a pogo
It's hardly
stick.
svelte. I'm going to. No, I'm going to do the complete opposite. I'm going to have one of the laziest days possible. I'm going to get up in the morning, have some breakfast, play a recording of the first 2 races at Newcastle and Newmarket, and then catch up with the live stuff and do as little as possible.
And repeat on Sunday. Well,
And how was your debut on What a Shout?
I've loved it.
Have you?
It's been good.
Good.
Been good stuff. You've made it very easy.
Oh,
Team
you're
of
very
pros
welcome.
beside me, and the air conditioning works.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
The banner behind you hasn't
didn't
fallen
see
on
me,
your
did
head
it?
again.
Yeah, it fell on my head.
A minor incident
During the
just before we
warm-ups,
came
yeah.
on air. And my earpiece hasn't got stuck in my ear, which apparently has happened before, so I won't be heading off to hospital for that.
No.
So no, it's been good. Thank you very much indeed. We'll see you both again next week. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us for What a Shout. As I say, catch up with us next week.